Hi, how are you? It seems that we are gathered around tonight for another of some creepy tales. And I'm going to add a new addition tonight. You see this mask? Basically, you too can be a Grimmfiend. Someone please remind me to link this type of mask if you're very interested, but I think this perfectly encapsulates the channel. Now, before a minute does come, I hope your day was good. I hope your night was good. Just whatever's going on right now is going pretty good for you. But without further ado, I'm going to put this mask on and we'll start up a story. Why you shouldn't look at creepy websites is the title. So I'm kind of freaked out right now. I guess I need to start this story from the beginning so you understand. For my entire life, I've been an insomniac. My parents are super religious, so I could never go to a doctor about this problem. I very rarely took sleeping pills either, because it would only make me tired in the morning. So instead of getting a good night's sleep, I would be trapped in a state of being tired, but wide awake at the same time. To distract me from my thoughts, some nights I would just scroll through my phone, either on Pinterest or fan fiction websites. Every so often, though, I would get an urge to just go into the dark web or something like that. Most of the time, I would just ignore it and watch creepy videos instead to kill the urge. But some nights I would be unsuccessful, like last week when our story officially begins. It was late, and I knew I wouldn't be getting much sleep, if any, so I decided I would just get the coffee in the morning to wake me up. If that didn't help, I always bought these 24-hour drinks to school so I wouldn't pass out. The teachers didn't mind. All they cared about was getting bloody paid. Coming to the conclusion, I got my phone and scrolled through Pinterest trying to find good ways to get sleep without pills. Of course, I had tried this time and time again to no avail. As I was just about to find a somewhat promising lead, I got the urge again. Something about it was different this time. I felt angry, almost to the point of hurting someone or myself. So out of fear, I looked up quote unquote good creepy websites to make you never sleep again. Looking at it now in hindsight, man, it was dumb. Very, very dumb. But I assumed it would help more if the website was scarier. I pressed search and clicked on the first thing to pop up. At this point I was so desperate I didn't even check the name of the website. When the screen loaded, the only thing that appeared was a picture. It was of a young girl, 10 to 11-ish, but what shocked me next were the multiple stab wounds around her body. The creepiest thing about this picture wasn't the gore or the age of the girl. The next thing that I'll tell you sent chills down my spine. It was the fact that her eyes were gone. Replacing them were two buttons. How many of you are familiar with Coraline? I remember as a kid that used to scare the living shit out of me. After what seemed like hours of staring at the photo, a text box appeared. Like what you see? I shook my head vigorously even though whoever made this website probably couldn't see. What shocked me next was he said, "That's too bad," the text said, almost as if this person could actually see me. I thought you would like this picture. At the sight of my own name, I instantly threw my phone. Freaked out is a goddamn understatement, so I ran to my parents' bedroom, screaming and crying, trying to tell them what happened, but all that came out was goddamn incoherent mumbles. After my parents calmed me down, I had explained what happened. They called the cops almost immediately. We ended up moving 2 days later. Sometimes I ask myself, was it a dream? But after asking myself that question, I remembered that if I fell asleep, I would have known about it. Jesus, that was... That was just... What do you even say to that? My bad, I'm texting someone right now. So, you go on the deep web, basically, because you're not able to sleep. You could have looked at anything, and you choose to scare yourself. You know what they notoriously say? Whatever you choose to seek and look for, you try hard enough and don't give up with it, you will find it. And you need to be ready to face it. In his case, he got more than what he bargained for. He was lucky to still basically make it out alive, and just things like that don't end very well for a lot of people. The next one. The next one is, I played a text-based adventure game on the dark web. I can't undo the things I did. I spend a lot of time on Reddit. I'm sure you do too. I'm on a lot of video game subs, and in particular, ones about text-based games. I'm talking games like Zork. What the fuck is Zork? My bad, as the narrator, I should not be... I'm sorry if I broke your immersion, but, yeah. Let's go back to the story. I wasn't alive when Zork came out, but I got really into it in high school. When I made it to college, I took an even deeper dive, playing all the sequels, all the knockoffs, any and anything Zork related, and every shitty game that people had cobbled together and released online. I had to refocus a bit, adding work on top of college courses so I could afford my shoebox collection. But eventually I came across a post called Apartment Complex. Not a super promising game. In fact, it was boring and just weird. The name, I mean. But I was bored and it was free. And the fact that it was hosted on some weird website that I couldn't access from regular browsers appealed to me. Sorry to break the immersion once again, but for your own sake, safety and sanity, if you basically have to go onto another website, Lordy, no, I don't even have to say anything. This actually gets worse. Let's go back into the story because I myself have personal history with something like this. So I opened the Tor browser, entered the link, and got to a profile creation page. Basic stuff, username, preferred resolution, etc. It didn't ask for any personal info, so I saw no wrong and kept going. The screen went blank, and then a text box opened up. Welcome to Apartment Complex. You have been assigned your very own apartment building to run. But this isn't any apartment building, because the tenants are going to be experiencing some pretty scary ordeals. What the fuck? That's what I would have said. but this guy decides to really get into it. You get to decide what happens next. Will your tenant survive? Will you accidentally butcher all of them? The power is in your hands. Are you ready? Yes or no? Why not, I figured. More text appeared. Jesus. Excellent. We'll start you off with an easy management level. You have 6 tenants, numbered 1 to 6. None of them know each other very well. Enter a number to learn more about the tenant and begin to make your decisions. I grabbed a 6-sided die off my desk and rolled it. 3. It rolled. So I typed in 3. Intriguing choice, it said. The tenant in apartment 3 is Cherry. She's 19 and a sophomore in college. All her friends know her to be outgoing and flirty. She brings new guys back to her apartment multiple times a week. She doesn't want a commitment. She just really enjoys clapping her cheeks. But mostly she just likes not being alone. It's possible it's related to how she was repetitively abandoned by foster parents. Jesus. Tonight, she brought home a young man named Thad. She planned to basically have Thad clap her cheeks, and he will pressure her not to use a condom. She will say yes because she doesn't want to scare him off. But you can help her out. Should tonight be the night that she stands up to Thad and tells him she won't be sleeping with him without protection at the risk of spending the night alone? Yes or no? I didn't realize this game would turn into a domestic soap opera, so I thought, whatever. Let's see how this goes. Yes, I typed. Intriguing choice. Thad and Cherry decide to get hot and heavy. Very steamy. Absolutely just going and gripping saliva fluids everywhere. Nah, I'm joking. They were naked on her couch. Thad tries to penetrate her, but Cherry stops him and says he needs to use a condom. Thad explains that it doesn't feel as good. Cherry tells him that it's more important that both of them are protected from STDs. She's now feeling tense. Thad calls her a whore in a tease and throws his clothes back on. Cherry cries as Thad goes to storm him out. Unfortunately, Cherry's door won't open. Thad checks and the door is unlocked, but it refuses to open. Even me as the narrator, I'm actually starting to become very scared. Thad checks and the door isn't locked, but it refuses to open. Furious, Thad storms back to the couch where Cherry is lying naked on the couch, crying, and begins to scream at her. Would you like to continue making decisions for Cherry, or try another tenant? 1 for Cherry, 2 for another new tenant. This game was weird and pretty retro, I thought, but I also found myself intrigued by Cherry and Thad's story. The clunky stories in these games had a certain charm that made them engaging. Fuck it, I kept thinking. I typed in 1. Intriguing choice. Thad keeps screaming at Cherry, who won't stop crying. She's afraid he might hit her. Thad hasn't decided if he will or if he won't, but plans to let his anger and lack of concern for Cherry as a human being guide his behavior. Oh no. If things continue as they are, Thad is definitely going to beat her to the point to where she's going to go to the emergency room. Holy shit. This next part is actually horrifying. Should Thad be stopped? Yes or no? Fuck, I mumbled out loud to myself. This got intense. Yes, I typed in. Intriguing choice. A ceiling tile falls off. The edge cuts across Thad's jugular. Blood gushes everywhere. He's dead within seconds. What the fuck? I said to myself. This game is whack, but the text continued to appear. Cherry is horrified. Much of the blood sprayed all over her. She's scared. She starts to shut down. Cherry won't be taking any more actions for a while. Choose the next tenant. 1, 2, 3. My bad. 3 isn't part of the equation. 4, 5, or 6. Damn, I thought. Looks like I'm not going to finish this game with a decent score. Keep plugging away, though. I rolled the die again. It rolled 5. I typed it in. Intriguing choice. The tenant in apartment 5 is Clyde. He is 35 and works at the local First State Bank. His hobbies include snowboarding. I almost said snow bunnies. Jesus fucking Christ. Tennis. Recreational murder. What the fuck? 90s sitcoms and fishing. He's home alone tonight after his girlfriend Alicia texted him and said she was leaving him for his brother. Jesus fucking Christ. He bought a gallon of chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream and is working his way through all of that. And he's at the 3rd season of Frasier. He feels the itch to just strangle somebody. It's been a while and he's trying to kick the habit. But the deep well of emotion seems to be so deep that the ice cream alone can't fill it. He's hoping to quench the urge with a TV binge. But just as he's settling in, he starts to smell gas. Should he investigate? Not investigating, I thought to myself, would be boring. So I typed in yes. Intriguing choice. Clyde gets off the couch and follows his nose to the kitchen, where a heavy propane smell is blasting out of one of the burners. He's familiar enough with gas leaks to know that he's one spark away from being a Clyde flambe. Should Clyde leave or keep sucking up the fumes? Clyde leaves at 1 or Clyde stays at 2. Seems weird to release the murdered, I thought, but it would be boring just to gas him to death. Intriguing choice. Clyde exits his apartment and heads down the stairs to the front door. When he makes it down below, he sees that the stairs are blocked by falling ceiling tiles. There are stairs opposite of the floor. On the way, he would pass 2 other apartments, which would likely wait. Before I continue, isn't he a recreational murderer? This could end up very bad for anyone. Should he wants to call the fire department to handle the gas leak. Should he stop at the first apartment, the second apartment, or the third? Or the third option, which is to take the stairs. 1, I typed. Intriguing choice. That was it. No more text. What the hell, I said under my breath. And then there was a knock on my door. What the fuck? Oh, Jesus. Hey, anyone home? Someone called out. A voice from the other side of my door. In real life. My name's Clyde. I live on the floor above you. My phone isn't working and my apartment smells like gas. Can I borrow your phone? I sat as still as I could, making no sound. Seriously, it's an emergency. I'm pretty sure I heard some noise in there. I need help. Please. On my screen, I saw more text pop up. Should Clyde keep trying the first apartment, try the next apartment, or take the stairs on the far end of the floor? As gently as I could, I pressed 2. The clack of the key sounded like a gunshot to the back of my head. Whatever, asshole. I know you're home. I hope you enjoy being a piece of shit, Clyde said. Then I heard his footsteps go down the hall. The apartment building I'm in is new and pretty well insulated, but I could faintly hear knocking on the apartment down the hall from me. I knew a college girl that lived there. Hopefully she isn't home. Wait, college girl, I thought. No, it couldn't be. Oh shit. Text started filling up my screen again. Clyde went to the next apartment and knocked on the door. He heard sobbing from inside. When a tenant inside didn't open the door, he tried the knob. It turned, but the door wouldn't budge. It looked like it was misaligned, and with the heat wave, the wood had swollen and jammed the door in place. Suddenly, I heard a smash from outside. I tore my eyes to look at my front door, but it was still solidly shut. The sound had came from down my hallway. I looked back at the screen. Clyde used his shoulder to slam the door and it popped open. He stepped in, calling to whoever was in the apartment. Walking further in, he saw a shocking sight. A man on the ground, his neck slashed open. A ceiling tile on the ground next to him on the couch, a completely naked young woman, and covering everything, a massive spatter of blood. What I saw next horrified me. Even me as the narrator myself. Are you going to help Cherry leave your apartment and go to hers? Or do nothing while Clyde murders her? This was so messed up, I couldn't just let someone murder my neighbor, even if I barely knew her. I was terrified as shit, but I still got up, ran to my kitchen, grabbed the biggest knife I could find, then went to my door. I took 3 deep-ass breaths to steady myself, then I unlocked the door, threw it open, and ran into the hallway as fast as I could. I looked over to where the other apartment was, and I could see the door was broken in. I ran as quietly as I could, and when I reached the door, stopped short and stuck my head around the door frame to see what was going on. Unfortunately, I couldn't see what was happening from where I was. I crept in as stealthily as I could. But the first thing I noticed was the bitter stench of blood. Then I got close enough to see what was happening. Cherry was on her back on the couch while Clyde leaned over her with his hands around her throat. She was scratching at him, but the blood made everything slick and it looked like her nails were sliding around more than doing any damage. I ran up to them and drove my knife straight into Clyde's back, and I heard a blood-curdling roar, and he whirled around. Now I'm starting to shit bricks. But before I could think and do anything else, he yells, "You bastard!" He yelled at me, dove on top of me while tackling me as well, and he started pummeling me with his fist. There was little I could do to stop him, and with each blow I felt myself getting weaker and my vision going darker. And then Clyde screamed. I focused as best as I could. Above Clyde, Cherry was raising the knife for another blow. She stabbed Clyde over and over until he collapsed on top of me, and then she kept stabbing him more and more. I screamed at her to stop, to eventually let me up, and eventually I broke through her terror. She helped me push his body off. I threw a blanket around Cherry and then called the cops. We spent a lot of time going over our stories with them. I left out the dark web shit, of course, because I don't want to get into any trouble. Finally, the cops left. Cherry went to go stay with her parents, and I went back to my apartment. When I got back, words were flashing on my screen. Remember, everything that happened tonight was your choice. And below that, we hope you play Apartment Complex again. I'm not gonna lie, that actually had me on the seat. Just. What do you even say to that? You find yourself a deep to dark web horror game and just. Wow. Not knowing that it actually has an impact on your real life. That is more than horrifying. And you have the option of saving this random person that you don't know, or you can leave them to suffer. The sheer fact that Clyde managed to bang at your door, call out, and you realize it's not a game anymore is already horrifying. And then you pretty much traumatize the girl for the rest of her life because she just wanted to have intercourse with someone who viewed her less than as a human. Very horrifying shit indeed. Let's try to find one more story. Alright then. This is actually horrifying from the title alone. The story is called Grandma Loves You. Someone says this post was removed from No Sleep for being too brutal, so I thought I might try it here. Without further ado, let's get into the story now. It's been happening as long as I can remember. I'm 8 now, but I have memories very early on of being unwanted. Dad drinks heavily and daily. Mama died when I was born. They didn't tell me what happened, but Grandma always helped take care of me. I was happy when I was with her. I always begged her to let me stay, but she always said she wished, but it just wasn't possible. Not yet. Sometimes I wouldn't get to see Grandma for a long time, and when I would ask to go to her house, Daddy would say, I don't think that's a good idea. I learned quickly not to push my luck with more questions like that. Because when I was 7, Grandma had died. She had a sickness that made her forget Daddy and everybody else, but she never forgot me. She said, Lydia, Grandma always loves you. You are my sweet girl. No matter what, stay my sweet girl. She would always tell me the same thing before I left her house. When she died, I didn't find out until the next day. Daddy was too drunk by the time I had walked home from school and forgot to tell me. When Grandma died, I thought that things would have turned a certain way, but it got worse. Since things were already bad. I knew Daddy didn't want me. He told me so. You stole my perfect gift, Lydia. She would have hated you if you hadn't killed her. Saying that to a child is just diabolical. I said I didn't mean to kill Mama. I hated myself for it. Daddy hated me. The kids at school hated me and always made fun of me for my dirty clothes and crazy hair. I tried to be friends with a girl in class, but she pinched her nose and fake puked when I asked. But all of that changed one night whenever Daddy really hurt me. I was heating up some hot dogs for our dinner when Daddy called me to bring him another 2 beers. I was thankful he asked for 2 since that meant I could focus on my homework longer and not worry about retrieving more drinks. I brought him his hot dog fixed just how he liked it. Mustard, relish, and cheese. I handed him his beers and started to walk away when he grabbed my arm and jerked me close to his face. He said, "It's all your fault, you know. She wanted you so bad, but you killed her. It's you who should be dead, not her." The anger and hatred for me in his eyes didn't scare me anymore. I apologized and begged for him to let me go to my work. He pushed my arm back at me, knocking me down to the floor. I didn't dare cry. Tears would make it worse. I got up and went to the kitchen table and sat down to do my homework. I knew I had about another hour before he asked for more beer. I started on my science work learning about the planets and their distances from another. I loved the thought of space. It was probably real quiet and peaceful. As I finished my science and grabbed my worksheet, I heard the familiar stir of the couch. Daddy was coming in here. I tried to keep my mind on math and keep quiet. "Didn't you hear me, girl? I said I wanted another beer." "I'm sorry, Daddy, I didn't hear you." Even though I knew for a fact he never said anything, he was just too drunk to remember. "You are sorry, aren't you?" "Sorry, waste of space. Maybe you should go be with your mom. She could see what a real disappointment you are." "Daddy, I didn't hear you. I'm sorry. I'm gonna get you another beer. You can go back to the couch and relax if you want." I was just doing all of that just to keep the peace and him calm. I felt scared again. "Oh no, since I'm already in here, I'll just get it myself. Heaven forbid your lazy ass get up and do something for a change," he said. While walking back to the fridge, he grabs the beer and started to head back into the living room, where he just stopped in the kitchen doorway. I have my back to him, but I can tell he stopped because he didn't walk far enough to being close to the couch. I hear the cap to the beer pop off and I let out a sigh of relief. I should have done that. "Are you sighing at me, girl? After everything I gave you? You ungrateful brat." The next thing I know was an icy cold liquid running down my back, over my face and onto my math sheet, blurring the ink. "You want to sigh now?" "Daddy, please stop. You're ruining my homework." "I ruined your schoolwork? You ruined everything." I could feel the heat of his breath and the smell of that foul-ass beer from behind me. I knew that anger in his voice. To say that they were bad was an understatement. "Go get in the closet," he ordered. The closet was stuffed with coats and always made me sweat stuck in between them. "Please, no. I have to finish my schoolwork, and then I'll get your bath ready." That was a mistake, because the next thing I was dragged by my hair towards the closet. I couldn't hold back my tears any longer. They stung my eyes as they ran down my face. I fought the best I could not to go in, but Daddy was strong. It was so stuffy in here I couldn't breathe. I could barely breathe. I tried controlling the tears, the crying, the sounds coming out of me, but I couldn't anymore. "Quit that wailing," he commanded as he kicked the door. I covered my mouth with my hand and begged, prayed to anyone listening to make it stop. I heard Daddy stagger to his room. I was hoping he'd go to bed and I could come out when I hear the snores, but he was looking for something. I could hear the drawers in his room rustling. "There you are," I heard. He said in a very cheerful sing-song tune. I had rarely ever heard him be as happy as that. The door to the closet flies open and he reaches in and pulls me by the arm to the kitchen where I was sitting. He binds my hands and ties me to the kitchen chair with an old rope I knew he had kept from his rodeo days. Why can't you just be happy with what I've given you? Why can't you just be good? Why did you have to take her? He screamed into my face. I could feel his spit hitting my face with each and every word. I stayed silent because I didn't know what to say. I didn't mean to kill Mama, but he didn't want to hear that, and I knew that. He began pacing back and forth, each step harder and angrier than the last. The louder the stomps got, the more I felt scared, followed up by a noise of bam, crash. My head was suddenly hurting so bad, and I could feel something hot running down my face and neck. It was much warmer than the tears. I was bleeding. Why did you have to take her? He repeated, yelling into my ear. I didn't mean to, Daddy. I didn't know. I cried. Well, I guess it makes it all better than it doesn't. It's all wiped clean, right? He said as he squatted right beside me. His tone scared me more than ever before. It seemed to be suddenly so cold compared to that rage he had moments ago. Make it better. Make it better, he kept saying to himself. Then he looked at me with the most terrifying look I had ever seen. It was something as if he had decided something. I knew he had just come up with a solution to make everything better. I just wasn't sure what came next. He got up real slow, walked calmly to the piano in front of the window and opened the top of it, and reached in. Something black and shiny was in his hand when he pulled it out. It was a gun. He was going to kill me. I knew it. He smiled at me and said, Lydia, you're about to make me so happy. This is the only thing you can do that will make it better. He untied one of my hands, shoving the gun into it. You're going to put this to your head and pull the trigger. He grinned. Daddy, no, please, I can't. Please don't make me do this. I love you, please. I begged him. If you don't do it, then I will, he said in a very stern tone. At least you will be with your precious grandma. I know she misses you, he said, trying to make me do it. I can't, I cried. He walked over and snatched the gun from my hand. You forced me to do this, you know, he said, aiming the gun at my chest. I cried, thinking of Grandma's words. Stay sweet no matter what echoed in my mind. It was like I could hear her talking to me right then. I wasn't ready to die, but I was ready to see Grandma again. I hung my head, waiting for the sound of the gun. Suddenly, a cold rush of air hit my neck. I looked up and Daddy was staring above me. I had never seen him scared, ever in my life. But he was now. My head hurt so bad and felt so heavy that I couldn't hold it up to see what was behind me. All I could feel was the cold air moving around my back, then my arms, then my legs. I felt a strength help me pull my head back up to see what was in front of me now. It was her. Grandma was standing in front of me facing my dad. He started shaking and rubbing his eyes. She began to slowly move towards him, and he kept screaming like a damn banshee. Get back. Stay away. Take her if you won't. He stepped back slowly with each word. But Grandma kept going until he was standing in the hallway in front of the closet. She looked back at me and smiled, and I could see the tears on her face. But they weren't falling. They were just fading away as they reached her chin. She moves behind Daddy, and he's looking at me now frozen in place. I think because he was so scared. Grandma leans into his ears and whispers something. He looks at me with a strange look come up on his face. He opens the closet door and steps behind it. Then bang! I heard a loud shot, it seemed, followed up by a thud. He gets really quiet, and all I can hear is the TV in the living room. I call out, "Daddy? Grandma?" I sound funny probably from all the crying and fear. I use my free hand to untie myself and walk towards the closet door. I can see his feet sticking out. I place my hand on the door to reveal my dad, but the cold feeling returns to my hand. I look at my hand and see my grandma's over mine. I look into her eyes and she's no longer crying. She's smiling the biggest smile I'd ever seen on her, and she shook her head. No. I know she doesn't want me to open that door. She touches my forehead where it feels sticky and it feels like an ice cube on my skin. She gives me a sad look. "Grandma, am I gonna die?" I asked her. She shook her head no and smiled again. I started to ask her questions about how she's here, but it's like she read my mind and put an icy finger over my mouth. Then she nods to the front door where I can go see blue and red lights through the glass. "Go, sweet girl. Grandma loves you always. Stay my sweet girl no matter what." As the last words escape her lips, I hear the front door knocked open and cops come into the kitchen. When I look back for Grandma, she's gone. I'm with my aunt and uncle now, and they're real nice to me. I started a new school, and I have some new friends. I'm happy, safe, and loved. No more yelling, no more beer, no more daddy. Grandma never ever came to visit anymore, but I know she's with me. I'll always be her sweet girl. Lord. I'm not gonna lie, that had me on the edge of my seat because I've been through similar stuff like that, but not to that degree. That's we. I think we can all say we're glad that that little girl is that little girl Lydia is actually she's safe. Thank goodness for that. To basically blame your child over and over, make them feel worthless and more over her mother's death, and just I'm glad she's okay and life can continue to be better for her, but just we I think the dad probably shot himself or just please never do this type of stuff to your children, because it's just your children go through enough stuff on their own, and I'm sure that you do too, but just adding and being the cause or main contributor of it is just that's messed up, man. And with all of that, I want to end it on that note. Please have a wonderful night. I'm sorry if I kept you awake and bright, but just know that things do get better. Like a sweater, you know. Bundle up because apparently it's going to be really cold lately. And I'll see you next time on Grimm's Tales of Horror. Or Grimm's Horror Tales. Like I said, we're also taking in suggestions, anything that you want me to read or do. just leave it in the comments or send it to my email. I look at everything and address it the best way that I see fit. Now, have a good one.